Hello, everyone. Happy Star Wars Day. Sorry for the technical delays that have prevented us from getting on sooner. I am Steven, also known as Midnight Hatter, and joining me tonight on our stream is, you know him, you love him, Adam Blue from Gundam Explained. Thank you for joining me this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is really cool. Any excuse to talk about Gundam is a good and potentially Star Wars because it is May 4th. So
Exactly. Yeah, may the 4th be with you, as they say.
yeah, likewise. Although I'm fond of the 5th,
Yeah,
the
yes,
Sith. Yeah,
Revenge of the
that's
5th.
fun. Yep.
Good stuff. Speaking of which, did you catch that Kenobi trailer today?
I did. I did. That's
What?
a whole can of worms. So let me know when you really want to get started on that.
Okay, okay. Well, first, I'd like to, tell everyone who isn't already a fan of yours. Oh man, we got first comment, first like. What's going on, Robert? John? Scorp? Good to see you guys. Yes, hello there. Um, Yeah, so I wanted to tell everyone a bit about you and the work that you're doing on
Yeah.
on YouTube is, you are a machine. You crank out 3 videos a week and a live show. And you're doing something that, I think that like Black Pants Legion does for BattleTech, right? You're covering the lore of Star Wars or lore of Star Wars. See, now I've got Star Wars on the brain. You're covering the lore of Gundam, and currently you're working your way through 8th MS team,
Yeah.
which has always been a fan favorite.
Yeah. And I can really see why when I'm taking my time with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely. I think it was a good entry point for a lot of people into the Gundam franchise, especially being on adults. Or was it on adults? It was on Toonami, right? Was the
Yeah. Which yeah, I think both that's like a Cartoon Network thing, right? Both of those
exactly?
Adult Swim and yeah, Toonami, yeah. Yeah, and I remember back when I would see those commercials all the time. I think it was mainly for Wing, and I would anything that was anime, I didn't even bother watching. It was like, "Nah, I'm not here for anime." And at the same time, I'm playing that Rise from the Ashes on the Dreamcast, and that was like my favorite Dreamcast game, not knowing it was Gundam. It's weird how that works.
That game was fantastic, and the
Yeah.
Dreamcast was well ahead of its time in terms of technology. Who would have thought that they were trying to pioneer online gaming, and then people are like, "What is this? Who's going to play with people online?"
But no, exactly. I mean, even the Saturn actually initially had an add-on for the modem,
Mm-hmm.
but there wasn't much there with it. Now with the Dreamcast, I used that a lot. It was my way to have my own yeah, modem, like surf the web. And I remember there's this website and I forget the name of it I would always go to where I could download things for the VMU, if that's what it was called, I forget. Or
Yeah,
just little things that I could have on there or saves or something. The Dreamcast was an amazing experience,
and
like
you had the little
gaming.
chows for Sonic
So
Adventure, and
yes, exactly. The
you'd like
chows,
raise
I
them like
love that.
Tamagotchi.
Yep. Oh yeah, that was great. And yeah, I played. There was Alien Front Online. That was a Dreamcast game that was online. I loved it. It was tanks versus aliens. It was like deathmatch, like a vehicle deathmatch, but one was tanks and one was aliens. And then there was Quake 3. I think one of the Unreals was online. Um,
Hmm.
I think there's a few other things, but yeah,
I was a big fan of Unreal Championship.
yeah,
Um,
that's what it was. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that was before and look at the monster that Unreal has become now, having become Epic Games. Is like,
Right. I know. It's crazy. I sometimes think, I don't know how into the industry you are, but like Cliff Blazinski leaving right before like it became, although he was already doing well for himself anyway. So,
true.
um, yeah, but yeah, crazy stuff. And it's just, yeah, but yeah, bringing up the Dreamcast is just, I, s- I love, games and video games. I still play them a lot, but the Dreamcast, there was something special about that, and I just don't know why it didn't catch on, unless it was really. I hear it's the sales, and I hear it's because people were able to easily copy the games. Even though at that time I wasn't doing that, I guess I didn't come
No,
across that.
no, I was
I,
too honest of a kid to try and do
yeah,
do that stuff.
yeah, yeah, man.
Uh,
But yeah, well, so do you want? I know we're gonna be talking Gundam, but did you want to talk about that Kenobi trailer
yeah,
or
I mean, if you
Kenobi in
wanted to,
general?
if you wanted to hop into that to start things off, I mean, like you said, it's topical today. So
Yeah. Okay. So And that's kind of where Gundam Explained came from because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, although I didn't really get into Star Wars until I was like 10 or 11, even though I had been out, just because it
Yeah.
was some time since the last movie, Return of the Jedi. And I got into it because of the ships. I got into it because there was the Rebels, the Imperials, and they had specific like this is the first time I noticed how an artist creating a story can design the equipment, the weaponry to be deliberate in what it's presenting, what it's showing. There's background to it, and I
Yeah.
loved that because I don't know, there was this weird thing, especially around Desert Storm, where I liked the tanks, helicopters, but part of me was like, "But this is war and people are getting killed." So it's like and it's weird for my age to be thinking that, but there was this thing about like I didn't like enjoying the war. So something sci-fi or fantasy like Star Wars, it was easy for me to like then take that enjoyment and put it to something fictional.
Yeah,
Um
for sure.
and
And just to be
but
clear, you're an '80s baby, right?
yeah, 83 is when I was born.
Yep,
So,
yep.
yeah, and so, I got, yeah, really into Star Wars, and so, it kinda went away after the prequels, and it was disappointing because I think the internet made me believe the prequels were bad, when
Yeah.
I think I did like them when they came out. I remember the whole thing about the Trade Federation. I remember people complaining about that and the Senate and all that. And in my mind, I remember going, "Well, that's good. It's cool. It's like a Wikipedia article George Lucas is making into a movie because you're getting all the background lore, all the
Mhm.
information that maybe most people didn't ask for." I, and so
Yeah.
no, go
But
ahead.
but, you know, I
Sometimes I'll
mean,
talk forever.
no, I think, Lucas really he even said himself that, he always considered the story was about Anakin Skywalker, and so to not have that part of the puzzle explained out, left some gaps, right? And, some people might not have necessarily liked what he filled them with, but, I mean, I remember watching Revenge of the Sith and, like, just about crying at the end of that movie. Like, I I probably fall into that camp that was like, loved Phantom Menace. Everybody enjoyed that. That was the first time we saw lightsaber battles that were not just geriatric guys
Yeah,
kind of lunging at each other.
slapping each other around.
Yeah,
There was actual choreographed stuff,
yeah.
Well, I mean, to a large degree compared to the original.
I think that obviously, I think that Attack of the Clones was the weak point, but I thought that Revenge of the Sith more than made up for, the kind of forced romantics of Attack of the Clones. But even like you said, the politics of Attack of the Clones was good. Like the
Yeah, the
I
world
think that
building,
exactly,
that's all it is, and I love it. And even with the love story, for me, I think I was able to look at it as this is just a necessity to move forward. I'm not as invested in the relationship between Padme and Anakin as I am of the result and how that moved him forward. Like, I don't need to be convinced that he's Darth Vader, but it's just that sort of the events that occurred, created Darth Vader.
yeah,
And so I got back into Star Wars heavily though, like once I think I forget when it was, like right after Disney bought them, because part of me was like, "Oh, this is cool." Disney's gonna be in charge of Star Wars, not realizing, nah. And again, I don't want to be a hater
yeah,
necessarily because like there's people working on those new Star Wars films for Disney that's what they've dreamt of their whole life and they get to do that. And it's like I don't want to like hate on it all and then like take that away from
no,
anybody, but
no,
I I can see there's gaps in a cohesive world that they're trying to, even if you can poke holes at what George Lucas was presenting on screen, there was this cohesive narrative behind it that is what pulls me in. So, I had done YouTube for a while, video game related stuff, and I'm actually going to get back into that now, applying this Gundam Explained stuff. But I
yeah,
originally wanted to do a Star Wars channel until and I was going to call it Star Wars Explained, but there is a Star Wars Explained channel, and it's actually really good. And it's like, okay, well, I don't need to do that. And so, yeah, once the Gundam came around, that's when, or yeah, when I discovered Gundam, that's when I saw it had that same kind of quality where there's deliberateness to the design and the military themes, the war, and then there's that plot underneath the world building. And
Hmm.
so, but I'll still, go back to Star Wars and so the Kenobi thing, like I I will sometimes write little Star Wars fan fiction. I don't even call it fan fiction. I call it a script spec that could possibly be but no, you know, what was cool about Kenobi initially when they said they were going to make a movie was it was going to be written by the person that wrote Drive, that Ryan Gosling movie. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I was a fan of that movie for
Okay.
sure.
And I was like, that is an excellent tone to carry over into Kenobi, where he's stoic, quiet, you know, but he is a powerful man. And then, depending on the if there is a um I hate to say love interest, doesn't always have to be that way, or it doesn't always have to be a female character, but that kind of dynamic where he's not as open, but there is an interest. And but then they decided to fire that writer or remove them. And then even during the production of this show, in the middle of it, they rewrote it to make it less dark.
Yeah,
So I'm trying not to let that stuff kind of get in the way, because it can still be fantastic. Now,
it
did
could
you
be.
like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett?
Okay, you know, I guess full disclosure, I did not watch season 2 of Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I loved season 1 of Mandalorian,
Oh,
but we canceled our Disney Plus subscription, so I missed out on those two. Um, if I had to, armchair quarterback it from based on the internet, which as you know
yeah,
can have some pretty strong opinions about things.
yeah,
um I guess season 2 of The Mandalorian was pretty fan servicey, right? You
yeah.
had Boba Fett make his cameo. You had Ahsoka, which to me, I never watched any of the cartoons. I was like you, it's like
So no real fan investment into that character. Yeah,
right. So for me, that didn't have any payoff, or it wouldn't have had I been, watching it live. So and I'm very much a Star Wars, like I love Star Wars, and for a lot of the same reasons you did. I remember just falling in love with the Millennium Falcon design, which
yeah,
is, i- if you think back to that time, it's such an ugly ship. It is like
yeah.
so, but it had um, such a distinct design to it that
And they leaned into it. They leaned into it being a hunk of junk, and that kind of gave it its charm.
exactly. So I was a big fan of the Star Wars video games and the original trilogy. And then I was always fascinated with how they made the series. I I was one of those kids that binged VHSs, and I remember
Yeah.
watching the commercial for from Star Wars to Jedi, the like trilogy, the original trilogy like documentary that went through
Oh,
like
yeah.
oh man. I can't tell you how many times I wore that VHS out.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. I remember having a bunch of VHS stuff too, and I think that same one you're talking about. Yeah, I think I had that as well. But I mean, I think it's interesting that you didn't watch the rest of it because it's weird. Like when I watch Mandalorian Book of Boba Fett, it's cool. There's like cool stuff going on, but like then at the end, I don't feel a satisfaction that I would have got from the George Lucas stuff. Now that could be age, but I don't think that's true just because I got into Gundam so late in my life and I can re-experience that feeling that I'm getting where I'm being given this story to take seriously. And I guess that's the best way to put it. It's hard for me to take these newer Disney stuff seriously because a lot of times it's like, well, what does that mean? What are it's and but I, the thing with this Kenobi, like I'm surprised how far they're going with the Darth Vader stuff. I
Hmm.
really thought there would not be Darth Vader. In fact, in my little fan script that I wrote, the idea in it would be Obi-Wan, it was training with Qui-Gon and Yoda,
Right.
and they're teaching him some Force stuff, like to be a Force ghost because that's obviously in the original trilogy. But I tried to make connections to the sequel trilogies, like in The Last Jedi, Luke does that thing where he projects himself across the galaxy on another planet.
Yep.
So I was like, well, let's sprinkle a hint of that in. And so the idea is Yoda and Qui-Gon are teaching Obi-Wan how to do that, where it's almost the same thing as the Force Ghost, but doing it as you're still alive. And what he's doing that to find Anakin or whatever happened to Anakin, because there's these rumblings about it, and
Right.
he and then through the Force, I don't know, he's able to feel him. But anyway, that's how he confronts Vader, and Vader sees Obi-Wan and thinks the Emperor's playing a trick on him again, and so he's just thinking, okay, that's it, I'm going to take out Obi-Wan, and so there's a little battle, but
See,
then
I like that because I mean,
yeah,
there's something that I think is kind of in A New Hope. You get the sense that it was not the first time that Obi-Wan had seen Vader, because he even
yeah,
comments to Luke, oh, more machine now than man and all this,
yep,
and he's like, you know, on Mustafar in Revenge of the Sith, he left him for dead. He didn't
yeah,
there he had no reason to suspect that the Emperor was going to put him back together and make him a
yeah,
cyborg. So there has to be some, some connecting thread that says he knows what happened to him.
yeah,
And so I think that's a strong that's a much strong to me that's a much stronger excuse for Obi-Wan to have met Vader without having been killed by him, because then
yeah.
that's the other thing, is like, how's he going to get back to Tatooine and
Yeah,
back to
and stay
Luke?
there and watch over Luke and not be suspicious. Yeah, that's why. And so in my head canon, I'm like, so it has to be something where they're seeing each other, but it doesn't really click. And so I thought, well, we can use that force projection, because it could be where then Obi-Wan knows that the idea is you will become one with the force if you do that for too long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't go too far and too long, almost like rules they have in Gremlins where they can't eat after midnight or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like that with the force projection. So it almost in a way foreshadows or backshadows what happens in The Last Jedi, where Luke would then know that he is going to kill himself, and so it could be or be one of the force, and the audience could then know he projects that far, and the audience like, oh wow, this means Luke is gonna
I
become
think
one of
that
the
that
force.
would be a much tidier explanation for The Last Jedi than what we were given. I think
Yeah,
that and that would be a satisfying conclusion, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like, I think that there are a lot of those kind of holes that people have poked in that film that, with the right writer behind them and with the right execution, you can make it work.
yeah.
But I think that, I guess, what we were given left a lot of people unsatisfied.
Yeah, and I try not to dwell on it too much, but
Yeah.
it's just weird how it's gotten me to just fall in love with Gundam, and I'm able to kind of like push Star Wars to the side, and I didn't think that would happen.
Well, and so now that bringing me back around to Gundam
Yeah,
is, so as you're going through 8th MS team, and one of the things that I try to remind myself and remind other Gundam fans is that Star Wars and Gundam have a lot in common, both being space operas. They're
yeah,
almost more fantasy than sci-fi.
right.
There's some hard sci-fi elements to it, but a lot of people approach Gundam in a way that they, say it's like, oh, well, no, this is like gritty, realistic sci-fi. And I'm like, no, you've got space wizards, that can move funnels with their
Yeah,
minds and stuff. This is a space opera. But 8th MS Team is a much more grounded series, and I think that a lot of the criticisms that 8th MS Team face is that people loved the combat, they loved the mobile suits. Obviously, you just
yep.
spoke about the Easy 8 in your
Oh
last
yeah.
video, which that used to be my favorite Gundam until I discovered the Zeta Gundam.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I was a big fan of the Easy 8, and
That's a good one.
and so, like, people love a lot of the elements of 8th MS Team, but one element that faces a lot of criticism is the romance between Shiro and Aina. And the criticism is that it feels just as forced and just as, I guess, what you might call unnecessary as like the Padme Anakin love storyline. Um, Now I think that personally, Shiro and Aina is much better executed than the Padme Anakin storyline, but
I'd agree. Yeah,
um,
even even though, like, it's weird because they're introduced in the first episode, and I don't think they reunite again until the 7th episode. It's something like that, 6th or 7th. But they and I said this in one of my videos, they made it feel earned because
Hmm.
you see the other characters going through their relationship struggles, and then you see, like, him sometimes looking at that watch or that
Yeah.
pocket watch that he got from her, and then sometimes people making comments, so it's almost like for the audience that was lingering, especially when they would go back to Ina and what's going on with her. It would remind you that Shiro met this girl and then she kinda got away, and now he has to kinda help his team, and the other thing is he is such a good commander, to a fault that he just doesn't want people to die, he
Right.
doesn't want people to get killed, and he's pretty easy on his team, even though he'll get on them, he's pretty easygoing with them, so it's almost like it all felt earned then when it came time to them yeah, to meet back up. Um, and then I kind of like, especially where I'm at now, where then it kind of turned on him and her in a way where it's like, oh, are you with the other side? So now it's
Right.
about that and not just the people that are caught up in it. And yeah, the one main criticism I had, especially when I first watched it, because I was still not an anime fan, just a Gundam fan. And I said this in a couple videos. I could not stand the way they draw Shiro and Aina, the nose, the faces. There's, obviously they're cartoons, but it gets to a point where it's too cartoony or less detailed to where I can't then be pulled in to those characters. And I think it has to do with my small exposure to anime in general. I think um, I had to tell myself this when I watched 0079 for the first time, the original Gundam. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a cartoon from the 70s from another country. I need to not let that bother me, and I need to enjoy it for what it is, and it worked. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and yeah, it is a very 90s dated look to it for sure. Um, yeah, I think that especially coming off the back of 0083, which I don't know if have you gotten into
oh yeah,
Stardust Okay, so
I've pretty much seen everything you see. I'm just revisiting it for the channel.
okay, good, good.
Yeah.
I didn't want to spoil anything if if you hadn't gotten to those yet. But yeah, I mean, coming off the back of 0083, which had it has that kind of almost what was popularized in the later 90s, that was a lot darker, a lot sketchier, and so to go from that to this sort of heavily manga inspired um, art style definitely is a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, and that's because after I got into the original Mobile Suit Gundam and I'd watched some other UC, I then went and watched tons of 80s Japanese like sci-fi anime that is amazing. And I don't think any of it is made anymore. It's like there's that one called Lily Cat. There's the Megalopolis, I think it's called or something. And then Senjuki or something, Demon City. I don't know. It's where they're R rated,
Yep.
and I love the art style. It's not appealing to children.
Hmm.
Um,
I think that a
it,
lot of those animes in the 80s almost had a more Western look to them. Like,
yeah.
so many of the characters in 0079, they kind of have that, I forget what it's called, it's almost like the Scooby-Doo eyes where people don't have the whites of their eyes, it's just like a dot and a line.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah.
I, it's like the sclera or whatever
Oh,
that.
there's a name for it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
um I knew there was like an art term for it, but
Oh
oh,
yeah,
here we
and
go. So there's a comment in the chat. Adam, are you looking forward to the Doan's Island movie?
oh yeah, totally. I'm really looking forward to it because it's like the right time that I got into Gundam. Just it's been a couple years now where it's 0079, the original stuff that I love that really got me into it, using the origin style, even though it's a more just evolved style. But yeah, the origin stuff just looks great.
Yeah.
Um, Even the trailers we've seen, it looks like there's a lot of mobile suit combat, a lot of mobile suits. Like, is that what we're getting? Like, it's almost unbelievable how many GMs, how many Zaku's. Um,
Yeah, they've definitely taken what was, it was obviously such a junk episode that it got removed from the original airing
yeah.
of the series, and they fleshed it out into this what looks to be an exciting story. So,
Yeah, the one thing I'm interested in though is what is plans for the Western release? Sometimes I say American release, but I think when they do it in English, it's for more territories. But um, like I don't think it would be called Kukuru's Doan's Island in America. I think they would call it like the Orphan Island or something that's easier to on the
on the Western ears.
yeah, exactly. And I would think Netflix would and they did the same thing with Hathaway's Flash. They just called it Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway.
hmm
Um although that might have been the name in Japan. I don't did they keep Hathaway's Flash in Japan or did they just change it to Hathaway?
I think that the anime itself was just called Hathaway.
Oh, okay.
I think that, and this is where I'd probably disagree with you. Is I think that in current year, you're finding that a lot of these animes and video games that would carry a different title in the West, they're trying to stick closer to the title that they have in Japan. Like, for instance, I think it came up on the Discord today. People were talking about the video game Target in Sight, which in Japan the video game is called Gundam Target in Sight, but in America it was released as Mobile Suit Gundam Crossfire. And so
Oh,
it led to that
okay.
confusion
Yeah.
that's like, which one's
Man.
which?
Yeah, Resident Evil Biohazard.
Yeah,
Kind of the same
exactly.
thing there. Yeah.
Um which you could go into a whole mess as far as video games go, like with the whole Super Mario 2 thing and
Yep. Or
um
Street Fighter character names. That's
yep,
another one.
exactly. Uh so yeah, I mean, I think that more recently they've started to get away from doing that, but you could be right. I mean, Kukuru's Doan's Island is not a
It doesn't
something
roll
that
off the
rolls off the
tongue
tongue.
in English now. And and the other thing is that, Netflix is going to be, helping finance that Gundam movie. Again, it's the live action one. Again, it's not that they are making it, but they're financing it so it gets on Netflix.
hmm
And Legendary Pictures, like even with the recent issues with Netflix, I don't think that would affect what would be going on with the Gundam movie because it's Legendary Pictures and it's not
I would hope
Netflix. That's
not.
yeah,
I would hope not. I mean,
and
I didn't like Enola Holmes, but that's a totally different
ah,
animal to
that was you know what? I liked that, I
did
think.
you?
Although I totally forgot about it until you brought it back up. The only reason I wanted to watch it was because I like Sherlock Holmes stuff.
Same,
And
and I love Henry Cavill. Millie Bobby
yes,
Brown's great. Loved her in Stranger
yeah,
Things.
exactly. And yeah, but I think though because I don't remember it, I haven't thought about it since watching it. Maybe it really wasn't that good.
Well, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. If you enjoy something, but if you own, they're movies that I enjoy that I only watch once. I'm probably not gonna go um, pick up like Avengers Endgame again. I enjoyed it.
Mm.
I loved it. Saw it and then was happy, but it's not one that I would own on Blu-ray. It's
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's something about when you see a movie and I think it's something that's in my mind. It's like when I watch a movie, it's like, is this something I could watch again?
hmm
And if it's something I wouldn't watch again, I think it's just a bias I have where I'm like, it's not that great. Like with most Marvel MCU movies,
hmm
they're just okay.
exactly.
It's like I saw it, and the one that I loved though was Doctor Strange. Um,
Doctor Strange
I,
was a good one.
and then to me, it blew my mind that then they had Sam Raimi come on to do the second one because
hmm
I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan, and
Same
man,
here.
yeah, man, I cannot wait to watch. Well, speaking of Sam Raimi and video games, and I know we're kind of going around with topics, but the Evil Dead game comes out like in a week or two.
Yeah, yeah, that should be an interesting one. That should be one of the ones that you stream over on the other channel.
Yes, for sure. The thing is, I have a feeling it's not gonna be that good,
It
but
well,
I
they
think
didn't show any gameplay in the trailer, did they?
No, they have recently.
Oh,
They've
they did.
recently
Okay.
had people that they've sent. No, they had a beta that came out recently, and I missed that. And then they had some streamers that they gave them a code for, and um, it it looks okay. I think the biggest thing about it is going to be that I'm like in the Evil Dead world, and I can be Ash. That that's really all I. And it's like the Star Wars
Yeah.
Battlefront 2 that came out recently that was kind of bad at first. That became a good Star Wars sim,
I
minus the flight stuff.
well, and I think that that's a lot of video games nowadays. They almost launch half complete and then, give it 2 or 3 years and then all of a sudden it blows up. You got your Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 14s that, kind of were
Oh, yeah,
slow
that
to
one's
trickle
huge.
out, and
Yeah,
now it's huge.
yeah.
Um, and same with what's another good example? Oh, No Man's Sky.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember I played No
Oh,
Man's Sky on launch day, and that was a mistake.
yeah. It was like, "What is this even a game?"
Yeah,
Like, that was weird, and they turned that around.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
and
that's interesting.
um, okay, so I got a question here for you from the chat is and see, this might be a little biased because it's what Zaku variant and what configuration and armaments would you pick? Let's say tech up to 0083. But if I have you correctly, I think you're a Federation guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I am more of a Federation guy. I don't know what it is. I even have this hat I keep on my desk that I wear sometimes. The only reason I've been wearing it is because I have not cut my hair. But that's a good point because like I love the Federation suit. That seems like the thing where I love the rebellion. I like the X-wing, but with the mobile suits over time, I started loving like the Xeonic or Zimad, those manufacturers for the
Right, the two
Principality of Xeon.
different.
Yeah, I started liking those suits, and then what came out of like the Neo Xeon era, and then I like Titans is kind of a crossover where it's the Earth Federation with Xeonic tech, and and so yeah, like the Zaku 2s. I love the Zaku 2 from War in the Pocket. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
I like how it has that red kind of accent to it. It has the dual green look,
Mm-hmm.
and then it has like the grenades that are kind of visible. But I also like in 0083 Stardust Memory the way they look.
The F2s have like a different
Yeah,
breastplate.
F2. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And then there's that J type. I think it's called. That's from 8th MS team. I've ordered the Robot Spirits version. I'm waiting for that to come in. And in the
Nice.
meantime, just the other day, I got the Ground Gundam in the mail.
Oh,
So
awesome.
yeah, I'll be doing a review of that. That's a sick suit. But well, here's an example. Thinking of it's not a Zaku, but I know you're a Zeta fan, so I wanted to bring this up. Like
Oh, beautiful.
I remember when I first saw the suit, I thought it was ridiculous, but I admired how frightening it looked coming at the screen, the way they animated it, and it's like, "Oh, that's good." And then, when I got the Robot Spirits version, I just appreciated it so much. Like, this is a neat suit design.
And it's one of those unique ones that's really designed to reflect the pilot, like it screams Haman Khan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that is a very good point. I think that is another cool element with that. And I don't know the history. Now, this is something might need to look up, but did she have a hand in the design of the Cublé or
To my knowledge, I don't believe so. I
okay.
think that and this is going based on my old video game knowledge because I was a big fan of the Gundam versus Zeta Gundam game. I've probably
Oh,
um my wife probably doesn't need to know this, but I've probably dumped about 22,000 hours into playing that
wow.
game. But I mean,
Yeah, was that on
that's
PS2?
yeah, that was the old PS2, like the old
Cool.
versus games.
Ah, cool.
And I mean, the way that campaign mode worked. Did you ever play that one?
No, I didn't. Mm.
Oh, the campaign mode for that game was fantastic because you would either pick, playing as the Federation or AUG, or you could play as Axis Xeon, or you could play as the Titans. You'd select a pilot, and then you could actually sort of change the course of history. So it's like if you play as Shar and you decide not to kill Garma, it creates a separate timeline where it's like, okay, here's what would have happened if Garma had lived, and stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So
Okay.
there's a whole storyline off of that where if you play as Amuro and you don't kill Lala, Lala gets the Cubile later on down the road.
Wow.
So I
Oh,
was
that
like,
is cool. Because that seems like that would have, even though that is a little further out. I bet the beginnings of, yeah, if you look at the, oh, I forget the name of it, the vehicle that she uses, the mobile armor.
Oh, the
It,
Elmeth.
yeah, the Elmith. It has that front face look like a Keyblade. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's awesome. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, that's like perfect breeding ground for like Gundam what ifs.
yeah, no, really. And that's why I like the lore, the world building. Like you can find something. It's like no matter who is in charge of, is it's like there's Tomino and then George Lucas, right?
Hmm.
Like, but sometimes it seems like if other people will make Gundam that's not Tomino, but it's
Hmm.
still good. It's still fleshed out, in terms of UC and really keeping in mind other things.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. And there's particular series. I think, 0080, 0083, and 8th MS team. They definitely eschewed the whole new type
Mm,
subtext that Tomino was trying to use as like a theme for um getting past war, as that was his like hammer over the head. Hey, let's evolve into new types and stop killing each other. But there
yeah.
was other ways to do it, and I think that all three of those series, well, technically an OVA, but all three of them did almost in some ways a better job than Tomino did in 0079.
Yeah, I've always found that interesting because it's like when I came across that new type stuff in Gundam, I was like, okay, this is similar to a Force user.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I felt like it was, and I think the Force does this in Star Wars, where it's taking from like Eastern philosophies, mindfulness, meditation, and then
Almost a
kind of,
Buddhism type.
yes, exactly. And I think, yeah, Star Wars has more of the mythological elements, and I think Gundam is almost trying to apply the scientific nature of it. Like I like the how they talk about faster reaction times
Mm-hmm.
or like pressure, feeling a pressure in your head. It's not like it's saying what the mystical thing is. It's like, oh, I'm feeling a pressure in my head. And I think I appreciate when people that have passed will communicate to a new type, because in every culture all throughout history you hear about that, like someone speaking from beyond the grave to someone, or they see someone in a moment that their life flashes before their eyes and maybe they see like someone that had passed. um Not that that stuff can be proven scientifically, but it's taking those elements and implementing them. Like, for example of what I'm trying to get at is, I like the Top Gun movie that's coming out. There's a new one.
Yeah.
What if throughout the movie, occasionally they're running into UFOs? Now that's not going to be the plot of the movie, have anything to do with it. But you know how in our real world we have scenarios that pilots are having to report UFOs, but
Yeah.
movies haven't really tackled that. Like I think Gundam in the background has the idea of our minds sort of advancing. So does that mean we have to go into space for that to happen? That's an interesting thought, even though it seems a lot of it was happening on Earth too. But I don't think they really have anything fleshed out for how it started, but it's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, it makes for great theory bait and
Yeah.
and fan fiction for sure.
Yeah. And I'm surprised. Like, I remember when I first got into Gundam, I'd watch narrative and I
Hmm.
just could not, I did not understand what I was watching. But then after watching everything else, even Unicorn, and even Unicorn, if you get into Double Zeta, Unicorn is even better than if you
Hmm.
didn't watch Double Zeta, because there's so many little things they
It,
point
it,
out there.
it was such a crime that they hadn't mass released an English dub of Double Zeta before releasing Unicorn, because I think that
Yeah,
there's so many callbacks that
yeah.
that your average Unicorn viewer doesn't catch. And
Because I remember,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, yeah, I remember when I was watching Unicorn when I first got into Gundam, and I was like, I can't stand this. They're monologuing all the time, and it's like, but yeah, watching everything else, getting to Unicorn, I'm like, oh, this makes sense,
Hmm.
and the narrative then made sense, and I like how, yeah, if you watch it in the, I guess it's release order, but more of the order of the timeline.
Hmm.
It picks up on those things. Yeah.
Yeah. See, and I made well. See, I guess the mistake that I made was watching Char's counterattack before I had watched Double Zeta,
Mm,
and which I think was kind of the intent behind it, because Tomino kind of
yeah.
washed his hands of Double Zeta and decided it's um not worth his time. But yeah, after watching Double Zeta, I looked back at Char's counterattack and I was like, oh, there's so many missed opportunities here.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one thing that I have to appreciate is when you're seeing a new mobile suit, there's more to it than it just being a new mobile suit. It's who manufactured it. What are like what's the DNA of the suit for it to look like it does? So like the Rigazi in Char's counterattack, that's taking like elements I learned from the Zeta
Mm-hmm.
Gundam, and yeah, the same with the what is it called? The Rizal, I think, from Unicorn, which
Yep.
that has it's like the evolution of the Zeta. The DNA is still there, and it's like a mass produced unit.
Exactly.
The GM and the Zeta, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Delta Plus from Unicorn being just
Yep.
a Hyakushiki, well, technically Delta Gundam, but
Yeah,
um. So
that's
let
a
me
good one.
see. I think we missed a few questions here.
Just
So
shout
like,
out real quick to Mad Matt, the heavy metal mecha pilot, because he's shown up and he knows his metal music. Like
oh
I
yeah,
threw out an obscure band and he knew exactly what I was talking about. That was
that's
hilarious.
oh man, yeah. We've got a few metalheads on my server.
Oh, that's
We'll have to
cool.
get you guys together and so you guys can chat.
Yeah.
I was never much of a shredder myself. I was always the pop punk kid. Um,
Oh, yeah, it's punk is where it started with me, and then
yeah,
I got into metal after that.
you got hard.
Yeah.
So let's see. Question for us both. What do you think a full-fledged Gundam RPG would look like? Something similar in a similar vein to Mass Effect or Witcher.
Well, do you wanna go first? Because I already have my thoughts on that.
Oh, well then you go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a second to think about it. I might
Yeah,
steal
because
some ideas from you.
now I love gaming so much, and, Gundam games, I love them too. It's like they're good enough, even though sometimes it's like there could be a better Gundam game, but
Mm-hmm.
an RPG, there's certain elements to that because there are RPGs that are more like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and then there are RPGs that are more like Dark Souls. I'm the type of person that I don't care about RPG as much as I care about mechanics. So, for instance, Dark Souls gameplay or like the newest Elden Ring, that is my sort of gameplay. And but the RPG elements can definitely be there that we see like in Mass Effect and all that.
Sure.
And one idea I talked about on my stream before was if they made a Souls like or Elden Ring like, think of the idea as it starts off where you're in this damaged, you can choose, it's like the class. It could be a Zaku, it could be a GM or some other base grunt suit. And you're just standing there damaged on the moon and you're looking up and you're seeing all the battles happening and you're not given any direction. It's just go. And then you're just like traveling and then you're coming across other downed suits that you can then get out and start harvesting the parts to like repair. And then you can finally get thrusters where you're leaving the moon maybe and going to different asteroids, eventually like a ship where you can meet up with some people and then like maybe sell or buy or upgrade your suit. And then really the whole point of it is it's like the end of the 1 year war and you really just want to get home to your family because you know it's going to be over any minute now. And I like the idea of just like and I think it's what I took away from Elden Ring. You're like in this world, and I think a lot of Gundam games they're fun, but I want to feel like I'm in the Gundam universe.
Yeah, Gundam games tend to be a little on the arcadey side.
You know?
That's interesting. I like that. And that could be a very deep, you know, sort of
Mechanically
commentary.
deep. Well, let me ask you: do you ever play the Souls games?
I'm
Or,
terrible at Souls games. The
well, hey,
I
we
didn't
all are.
play I didn't play Elden Ring, but I love Bloodborne.
Oh, okay. Bloodborne is so you know how the combat's very methodical and deliberate.
Yes,
Like that's how I feel, and it's like that in GBO2, in my opinion.
it
Gundam
is
Battle Operation 2,
absolutely.
and I think that is how the combat would have to be in a Gundam RPG, where it's really about making use of your weapons and your momentum of movement
Yeah,
as the combat
timing
scenario. Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
good. Yeah, I'm definitely a mechanics first gamer myself. Like story and art style are all great, and they help enhance your enjoyment of a game. I would say that for me, what makes a game fun to play is you kind of have to have some basic player controls. I think that the best games have a solid character controller. And I might start nerding out about game dev stuff to you, but
That's cool.
you know, Nintendo has always done a fantastic job with this. I think
Yeah.
that a lot of people think that Breath of the Wild was this fantastic video game because it had an open world, and I'm like, it wasn't that it was a big world. It was that you were free to explore it using all of these different tools to move around. You had
Yeah, it had like a
parachutes.
physics system that you were actually playing in. Yeah.
Exactly. You want to create this sort of sandbox for players to enjoy. Um, and so, my kind of ideal RPG would be something that has something similar, some kind of movement mechanic that makes it appealing to play. And I think that um, there's some obvious examples of mobile suit movements that could be fun to exploit and fun to play with in terms of the physics. I think that the best video games, you can have fun without an enemy character on screen, and then the enemy
Oh
characters
yeah.
just basically add to that
It's like the
excitement.
puzzle element to a
Exactly.
scenario. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if I were to design a perfect Gundam RPG again, it wouldn't be the skill trees or the classes that necessarily made it for me. It would be, being in the 1 Year War and having a world to explore in unique ways, whether
Yeah.
that means running around on foot, maybe even actually getting to experience like piloting a ball. It's one of the things that
Yeah.
you can't do in GBO2, despite despite people's best efforts. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes me think you should try to play Elden Ring if you get, especially if you liked Bloodborne. Um, I think Elden Ring is, I would say it's the easiest except for the bosses. The main story bosses are probably the hardest bosses, but exploring the world is the most fun aspect. I guarantee you in the next couple years most games are going to use the formula that Elden Ring is using, where it's you're having fun just exploring, like the game itself, it's almost like you explained it, the game itself is what's fun. You don't have to like look at checklists, objective things, and be like, okay, get that done, get that done, get that done. It's just you're out in the world, things happen. And what's interesting about Elden Ring though is there's a lot of lore, but it's not really presented to you. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's like the story, like Bloodborne was kind of the same way. And
it's
I
available to consume if you
yeah,
want it.
exactly. And that's what I like also in games when they do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, again, it's great theory bait. I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls games for that reason. Um, Morrowind, I've probably replayed 100 times. uh,
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't get into those. It's more of, sometimes if I start playing a game and it's sometimes I can tell if a game is more RPG heavy than it is, less of an RPG.
oh, definitely, definitely. Um, yeah. See, chat agrees with you that I need to pick up Elden Ring.
Yeah, I put about 115 hours into it. I'm on, I'm
Wow.
I'm on my new game plus now.
Ooh,
It's it's fun. They did a great job.
that's
And it
good
was funny
stuff.
because I got it the day it came out. It was like February 23rd, 24th, and I beat it the day before I had left for a 10-day meditation course. And it was like the universe was just coming together, because I don't know if you've ever had this issue before, but with some Soulsborne games, after I've completed them, I feel this like I don't think PTSD is the appropriate word, but it's more like I can't get into another game.
Hmm.
I can't get into other things. I was so engrossed in that whole game that, like, I don't know what to do with myself. So going on this meditation course was a way for me to like release
Decompress.
everything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds, almost like a cathartic experience, and
Yeah.
that's, I think speaks volumes about the difficulty of Souls games is that you don't get that from playing. You can complete a Mass Effect game and you're like, that was fun. I think I'm gonna go play something else now. Like,
Yeah, and what it is it's always this I don't know what to call it. It's like a philosophy, but it's like, like water is so good when you're thirsty.
ugh,
And like
yeah,
it's the same thing with a Souls game. Like the game is so fun when you beat the boss that you were stuck on for like 20 hours. And it's like there's that yin and yang in life that sometimes when those things come up to you, that's how you can enjoy something so much more.
yeah. When you have like an uncontrollable like guttural reaction to beating a boss like that,
Yeah.
you can't fake that with the good story.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's like physically changes you, like or physically affects you. It's funny to be done beating a boss and then like sighing and going, "Oh." It's like, what did I physically do? I was moving my fingers.
Exactly. Now to capture that in a Gundam game, I think I don't even know if it'd be possible.
No, it reminds me. It's in Unicorn when you see Marita and she's in the Kshatriya and she's like doing all the like the things with her
Oh
hands on the.
yeah.
It's like think of in a Gundam game, the controller would have to have some sort of like exhaust or overheat release button or something where you almost like an active reload that some games have,
Yeah.
where it's like as you're fighting, you have to like do some mechanical things to then maybe switching weapons might have more things that are involved with it. So it's almost like you're having to work it to
Yeah.
play it. Yeah.
Get you like a steel battalion, like full
Oh yeah,
rig.
that is a great idea. That's because that would be good if there was a Gundam game, even though I like third person stuff, but if there was one that was in the cockpit view. I'm
Yeah,
surprised they haven't done that in VR yet.
I mean they haven't done it since Rise from the Ashes on the
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And when they did the remake on PS3, it was third person.
mm-hmm,
And
exactly.
you
Oh man, let's see what we got here. Make sure we didn't.
hey, the Zionic Shadows in. That's cool.
Oh hey, how y'all doing? Yeah, shout out to the New York Gundam fans up there, right?
Oh yeah.
As a kid, Journey to Jaburo gave me that feeling of difficulty.
I never played that
F91.
one.
Oh, Journey to Jaburo was a fun game. I, man, I hardly remember it now. That
Some
that
of those were
was
difficult. Like I revisited Zionic Front for the channel, and
that's
that was
brutal.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it gave me that was like the old Rainbow Six games. I remember there was a Rainbow Six game
Oh
on
yeah.
N64 that had that same sort of like squad based. You had to plan out the
Tactical
mission,
thing. Yeah.
and I think that I love that type of gameplay that where you can command units, but you also are responsible for playing as one of them.
Yeah.
That would be an excellent Gundam game where each player kind of controls a lance of mobile suits, like an MS team.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. There is a Gundam game out right now that lets you do that, isn't there? Or am I thinking of something else? Where it's like you use the Code Fairy. Code
Oh, right,
Fairy. You can actually
exactly.
control. I mean, it's not too much. It's like you can engage, like you can have them go forward or stay back and then use their specials.
Hmm.
It's not too much, but at least it's yeah, it's
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Good, good.
I just
Well,
got a F91 Formula Wars ROM and it's fun. Oh, never heard of that. I'm gonna have to look that up.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like that
Scorp is our
F91.
resident F91 shill.
Oh no, that's cool because F91 is cool. I feel like I feel like I shill whatever I just happen to be into
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
moment.
So you'll probably see that on our Discord server is that Scorp and I constantly bicker over early UC versus late UC.
Yeah.
That's our running inside joke. Um, hey Tony, good to see you in there. Question for Gundam Explain: what is your opinion on Gundam IBO, and what is your favorite mobile suit?
That's a good question about IBO. I have actually purposely not watched it yet.
Really?
I haven't gone any really I haven't gone much outside UC just to get everything done UC wise, but I do plan on going through everything. I'm going to go through IBO, Seed. I don't know what to do next really. I'm almost thinking of IBO because I think some recent content has been coming out about it, like a game I think on mobile or something is coming out soon.
There's
Um,
definitely something in the works.
yeah, some I'm not too sure. And Yeah, like Seed. Even Robert is a big fan of Seed. He's always telling me I need to be watching Seed, and honestly, the Seed designs are sick. Anytime I see a mobile suit kit that's not if it's not UC, it's like, oh, this must be Seed. And it's good. So
Yeah, I have the unpopular opinion. I actually enjoyed Seed Destiny, which I
oh,
know is
cool.
like it's blasphemy. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm definitely a UC fanboy. I view IBO the same way that I would view like most modern Star Wars content, where it's like I appreciate that it's creating new generations of fans of this, franchise that's 30 years old that I love so much, 40 years old.
Yeah,
Um, and but it's like I don't want that to take away from, you know 0079. Like
yeah.
I hope that IBO fans are going back and saying like, well, hey, IBO was good, I enjoyed this, let me dig into the past and see where this came from. And then it's like, I had no idea that there was stuff that was this good.
Well, and then that makes me wonder how many non UC Gundam shows have gone beyond like a season or two. Is it mostly where they're like a season or two and then that's it?
Pretty much. I mean, I don't
And
think.
then maybe a compilation movie or something?
Yeah, yeah. And you'd be lucky if you get like the, OVAs that are then broken up into shows, or shows
Yeah.
that are. Yeah. So,
And you know
no.
what? To answer that other question about favorite mobile suit, um, it's actually, well, as of right now, the Mark II, and I have that cost signature Robot Spirits one right here. It's
That's
love
slick.
it. I mean, I love the real type markings on it. I just love the Mark II because it looks like it's like the evolution of the Gundam,
Yeah.
obviously. Like, but then I love how then there's the Zeta Gundam in the same series to say, well, if the Mark II is an evolution of the Gundam, here's just an evolution of a badass mobile suit, and then that's the Zeta. I like how they kind of did both of those.
Yeah, I think that if they had gone straight into the Zeta, it would have been too far of a cry from the original.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think Trikovic probably is gone now, but he asked earlier like what my favorite mobile suit from Gundam versus Zeta Gundam was, and when I first started playing the game, it was the Mark II,
Oh, cool.
because it, like you said, it looked like a modern redesign of the original Gundam, which, from the
Yeah.
anime looked like a transformer. It was all just blocks.
Right. Yeah. And
so
this one they actually added some form to it, like just the right amount of seam lines and stuff to kind of
yeah, to give it some more structure.
yeah.
But yeah, after that, definitely Zeta stole my heart, because it felt fast to me, right? Like my favorite ship from Star Wars. Hey.
Here's this is that metal robot spirits
Oh wow.
data, and it transforms, but I'm not doing that again. I have a
No.
video of it, and it's just a lot of work.
It is. And they're the parts in there are so delicate.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. I've currently got my Zeta here on the desk. It's
Oh, sweet.
headless,
Oh,
because I've got a little experiment that I have set up. And I mean, if you want, you could help me with this experiment.
yeah. Let's do it.
Let me pop this open here. All right. So you probably cannot see my screen unless you have the stream up, right?
Yeah. Let me see if I can get the stream up. I tried it a second ago and it wasn't working, but I mean, people are in the chat, so
So what I have done here, and on last week's stream, I mentioned that
here we go.
I'm something of a mad scientist when it comes to building Gundams and Gunpla. One
Yeah.
of my favorite tricks here is I've got this. This is that Eric Blanc Zaku that I've built, and one of the tricks that I use is phosphorescent paint in order to make fake light up effects. So like,
Oh, great idea.
um, but I wanted to take it a step further. One of my things is, I want Gunpla to be an accessible hobby to people, even if they don't want to mess with LEDs and expensive kits and things like that. So my next level up to this effect that I'm doing is our handy glow in the dark powder, which, you know, when you see it straight up, it just is white powder, but you hit it with a little bit of UV light and it will glow in various colors. So the idea behind my experiment is to use a little bit of two-part epoxy resin, mix it up, and add my glow in the dark powder to it, and make molds of some of the Gunpla parts that I've got. So, like for instance, this is the Zeta Gundam's face, and I don't know if it'll come into focus or not for us. There we go. So this is the Zeta Gundam's faceplate that I made a little quick mold of. And if I were to use some of my green glow in the dark powder and cast a copy of that, and then just paint the parts that I don't want to glow in white and black, then you'll get a cool effect where when the lights go out, the eyes actually light up.
That that should be standard.
Right. I go. It seems like it'd be an obvious thing. So, the question is, which one should I do? I've got so the Zaku. I've got a couple of Zaku mono eyes. I've got a Zeta Gundam, and I've got the Granddaddy Gundam. Molds are already prepped. I just need to mix up the epoxy, throw in some powder, and pour these guys in.
I think a mono eye is definitely that would stand out. I think that would definitely stand out because that's even how they kind of um what's the term, like whenever they come across a Zaku, like the mono eye will just look at it and like do that glow and that brown.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the sound that I use for the intro to my channel. Is the
Oh.
boom.
Oh wow. Okay, well there we go.
So that decides it. Let me get this glove on. I don't want to get resin all over my hands. So now the question is, I don't know how much longer I have on stream with you. Do you have anywhere you need to get to?
Potentially. I could probably do another 20 minutes.
Perfect. Then instead of
Cool.
using this clear resin that takes forever to set, we are going to use some white resin that sets in 10 minutes.
Okay, cool.
And that way we'll actually get to see the results of our work before you leave.
And now I guess is that a high grade and what is it, a Zaku 2?
Yes. So the Eric Blanc Zaku that I've got here is a high mobility Zaku 2. The one that we are casting parts for is a F2, which
nice.
I guess I can show it off here as well. Again, headless because I had to remove the mono eye part from it. But I actually made several copies of that mono eye mold so that I could cast multiples of them. Because I mean, if it works, then I'll do it for all of my high grades.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Do you paint your figures?
I do.
Kids? Yeah,
most of them. The Eric Blanc Zaku obviously is all purple, and but I have not painted the F2 yet.
Yeah, I don't normally paint, and I really want to get into that, like the airbrushing. I'll do like a matte coat, which I think helps.
Yeah, little
I'm not
top
gonna
coat.
paint it. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually have a record on YouTube. It's one that I'm pretty proud of. Is I have the worst ratioed Gunpla video on YouTube. When I first started a few years ago, I made a video of oh man, I can't get this jar open. I made a video of me hand painting a Zeta Plus that was absolutely ripped apart. and
Oh, wow.
justifiably so. With
Was
such
it because you were hand painting?
well, I decided to explore a technique where usually if you're gonna like paint miniatures, you would do like a wet palette.
Mhm.
Well, I decided to make a wet palette that using enamel paints, which is a big
Mm,
no-no.
yeah. Yeah, I've, messed with that before.
um and I think you mentioned to me before that that you've been into like miniature war games and stuff as well, right? Well, at least admired them from afar.
Yeah, I love the miniatures looking stuff. I don't have any, but, like, especially Warhammer 40K, that stuff just sometimes I'll go to the Games Workshop. I haven't been there in a while. That's nearby here, and just look at them. It's like, "Oh, I should just buy a set of these." I don't know. They're just cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I've always felt the same way about like the Star Wars Legion games. Like I love the
Oh, yeah.
miniature ATSTs and um man, am I ever gonna be able to get this thing open? I don't know what I
Yeah,
have.
I'd love to get like that's the thing I liked about Legion is like I was wondering if I should start collecting those because you could have these ships to scale almost. But then I saw the price of like a super star destroyer and I was like, "Oh man, even though it would be relatively good size, um I was just to have a bunch of ships in scale would be awesome."
Oh yeah, I agree. I I was always jealous of my little brother because he got that scale Millennium Falcon ship that was like to
Uh
scale with the little like what is it like 3.5 inch figures, the short
uh
ones. I wanted that
I
when I was a kid.
actually I they because they had multiple releases of it, and I got back in like 2016, I think. The last release they had done of it, I bought off someone that like they were missing parts of it. So then I went on eBay and bought the parts, so I fully restored that Millennium Falcon. Um,
That's amazing.
and it was a recent release, so it was good detail, and I have it in the attic. All the all the Star Wars stuff I had in my office are now replaced with Gundam stuff.
Suitably so.
Yeah.
Wow, that's not good. Now I see why this didn't open because it is completely hardened.
Oh, okay.
Well, that happens from time to time. We are just going to have to use our other resin, which will hopefully not give me difficulty pouring out. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see it until tomorrow. This stuff takes like 24 hours to set.
Ah, that's cool.
But, oh well. We'll work with what we've got.
Yeah. So, what other customizations do you do to the model kits?
Well, I have in the past I tend to come up with lore reasons for why I create the customs that I make.
That's
And
cool.
that's just a personal quirk of mine. For instance, the Zeta Plus that I painted was a Ruluka custom Zeta Plus
Mm. Oh, that's
because,
cool.
yeah, I always imagined like what would it be like if she and Judo had returned for the events of Unicorn.
What I don't remember what happens to her at the end of Double Zeta. Does she live?
Rue lives, and
Yeah.
she
Okay.
and do you remember the 3D series, the Gundam Evolve,
Yeah.
like those like little
Yeah. I have that actually.
vignettes?
Is she in that?
There's an episode with her and Judo where they're on their
Uh,
way to Jupiter,
wow.
and
I'm gonna have to watch that. Yeah, I have
yeah,
all my Blu-rays, DVDs behind me, and Evolves up there.
very nice. Yeah,
I'm gonna
that
have to watch that.
all of those shorts are would be great to see on stream, I imagine,
Yeah,
or at
I'm gonna
least your
have to.
reactions to them.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to do that just to kind of see how much I can get into like connecting.
Uh
I have this wall up here, and it almost fell over just now.
oh. All right,
Um,
let's.
but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, did you ever watch MS Igloo?
Yes, I was a big
Okay,
fan of Igloo.
that's cool because even though I don't hear about it much, that's why I reviewed it for my channel because I like to find that connective tissue where things are explored that we might have just got a glimpse of from a show or two, and then also how they it's almost like a behind the scenes of the 1 Year War. And although I have to say, after I've been recently looking at the games and those side stories, there's so much 1 Year War content. Like almost too much, I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah, we 1 Year War guys are kind of spoiled for options for sure.
Yeah, because even with that new Rust Horizon manga,
I saw
yeah,
your first looks at that manga.
yeah, the story stuff is interesting. But I've been told though that really, even though again, canon not a big deal. I don't fight over it. But
Yeah.
I was told the manga and the shows and movies are separate canon, even though some of the similar events occur. They're
Yes,
separate.
I've been told that as well. I think that the general rule for Sunrise is that if it's animated, it's canon, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not a canon snob. I try not to be. You drive yourself crazy doing that.
Yeah, no, I like to call myself. There's got to be a good name for it, like a not a. I like how you said snob because that is the other end of what I like. I find enjoyment in the connective tissue and the explanations.
I think that that's a
So,
good way to put it.
like a canon enthusiast. I don't know. But
Well,
no, the snob stuff. Even me, it was seeping through during the Disney Star Wars stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Like I was like, don't like it that way.
I feel the same way. There's some stuff that it's like, you know, don't mess with what I enjoyed, but then at the same time it's like it could be something that's expanding for the better. Like you mentioned, the side stories video games. I love that. One of the things that they do is you have like the Marcosius team was there at
Mm,
Abaku. They
yeah.
didn't have a direct impact on what was happening, but they're part of the lore, right?
And they had a story. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about those side story games is, and from what I understand too, the video games are canon with the animation. Um,
Yes, that's what
and
I understand as well.
yeah, it holds up well. I mean, all the stuff I'm going through, with the video games with my latest videos, this year so far has been a lot of that side story stuff, and it carries over well. There's even stuff where they talk about things that happened in Char's counterattack, and some characters are still around. Um,
Yes, yep. I
but
was
going back to the judo you were talking about, I love how he even exists through Crossbone, and he has his
the Gump,
sort of like, yeah,
the old
exactly.
busted double Zeta.
Because thinking about it, wouldn't even if it is dated, wouldn't the Double Zeta still be quite a powerful mobile suit?
I mean, I would argue so. Like,
Yeah, I think that was top of the line of like Earth Federation. Um, yeah, because then after that you see Unicorn, which is insane. That's when it went all out with the psycho stuff, the Psycho Wave, Psychomu, and then when you get to the Penelope and Kasai Gundam, I mean those are just pretty insane. Anyway,
is that how you pronounce it? Because I was like, I don't know
yeah,
how to pronounce
yeah, I've
Kasai.
learned it just
Okay.
from having my channel. Uh, people would,
I didn't dare pronounce it before I heard someone else say it.
yeah, I heard someone say She Gundam, so I was saying She Gundam,
That's what I
and
thought.
then people were correcting me, but multiple corrections. So I'm like, well, it's got to be one. And then I did some more research online, and then was I watching Hathaway? And you can hear them say Kasai, like K apostrophe Sigh, Kasai.
Kasai.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I think it might be Kazai, like more of a Z than an S. Kazai. But again, it's one of those things when it doesn't roll off the American or the English language tongue, it trips up. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Well, we're gonna have to see how these turn out. I will. I'll definitely post some photos and I mean, so far, just shining a light on this stuff, you can see it start to glow pink. I definitely made way more than I needed here, but
no, that's still cool. I think that again, like I feel like that should be just a new feature that they have in Gunplas, where it's either a sticker or just a runner that is like UV or whatever you call it, painted,
Yeah, something that's
um,
reactive. And
reactive.
like I said, it gives cheapskates like myself and people that are just getting into the hobby a way of customizing their gunpla that isn't, going in with wires and LEDing things up.
Yeah, even though that is fun. I've done a little bit of that.
Oh
Uh,
yeah?
yeah, yeah. I have this Haro. Um, and then what else did I do? I have it's a robot spirits like white base. Uh,
Ooh,
it's like the hanger, and you can buy. There's multiple sets. There's three of them. I only have two of them. Although I bought two of one of them, and I can connect them together to make a big hanger. And I'll have to send you the picture later. And I put LEDs like white ones on the top and red at the bottom, where they
that's
would be.
awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture. I'll have to find that because it's like one of my favorite. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess we're getting near the end. I was gonna see if I can find that, just share that with you real quick.
Yeah.
If not, I will. Um, yeah, because I had this Instagram called Gundadum, Gundam Dad, and my name Adam. I haven't
Nice.
posted it on it in forever, but that was like when I first got into uh Gundam. Let me try this other. Um, I mean, for the dead air to happen.
Not
Oh,
at
you know what?
all.
Speaking of video games, you play any Halo?
I have not played a Halo since Halo 3, which I know
Ah,
is blasphemous because
maybe not.
maybe not. Not a fan of Infinite yourself?
Actually, I am a fan of it. You know what? I will drop this into the chat. I don't know if you'll be able to. Should I send you a link like in the Google chat or something?
No, let me I think I can um pull it up here.
But no, Halo Infinite actually has amazing gameplay. It just barely has any content. That's really the issue.
Is it one of those games that launch title
Yeah,
is kind of weak, but then, maybe they'll bulk it up with some DLC.
yeah, they've been doing that. They've been, and some stuff has been delayed. So.
Let's see. Did you drop it in Discord?
No, I dropped it in the YouTube chat. Should I drop it in the Discord?
Oh,
Throw it to you. Trying to keep up with all these different chat things. It's like I should be on top of this stuff. I've always been a tech geek.
yeah, well,
Um,
I thought I was too until it came time to set up the audio for the stream, but that's kind of like the running gag is that
I know, man. I know what you. It happens with me too. I love the stream where I start it and I'm muted and I'm just talking for a little bit.
yeah, I didn't want that to happen to us. Oh wow. Yeah, I see what you're saying with this.
Yeah, I have a better one. I don't know where it's at, but yeah, I love that. Like, I love having the diorama stuff. That I think completes the Gundam stuff for me. I need more diorama stuff. Honestly, I don't think they have enough.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let me go ahead and share this on screen here so that everyone else can appreciate what you're showing me.
And I have not done pictures lately. I need to get back into it. I even have some on there that I do a lot of photoshopping with it to like add effects, like erase out the stands, add lasers, blur, explosions. I love doing that. It's just it takes a lot of time.
Yep, that is that's the curse for sure.
Yeah. What I think what would be best is like having a dedicated like you have that space that you're building there, right? But is it like a dedicated full space or are you just like using like the end of a desk?
This is just the end of my little L-shaped desk. I actually have like a whole workshop in the garage that I
Ah,
normally
that's
stream
perfect.
from,
Oh,
but yeah, you
that's
know,
awesome.
this is sort of
No,
my workspace, so
I don't have like a dedicated. I mean, I already have my gaming work computer desk. It's hard for me to really justify a action figure photography space. You know, it would make it easier, right? When you already have a space where everything's set up, you can just.
exactly. Yeah, that was the arrangement for us was that you know, I could play in the garage and that would be my space to play. Um so yeah, just so that we can share some of these um photos on stream.
Oh yeah, cool. Very cool. I think I have a better one. I can't find, but I think the main point was I was trying to get the lights to look like they would in a hangar. I think a lot of photography, 100% in my opinion, it's a lighting. Like whatever you're trying to light, like it has to be natural to the scale of what it is you're trying to portray. You
Yeah.
know, the same with depth of field, which is part of that has to do with lighting too. So that's
Yeah, I mean, miniature photography, toy photography, it's a tricky art, and I admire the
yeah.
people that can do it. My photography skills are not there, but I do like building dioramas, and um, I would actually recommend you check out the video I did on wireless induction LEDs, which is another kind of like budget LED option for Gunpla.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but
I'm gonna have to note that down. Because I would be down for that. Like sometimes I look at my robot spirits and I want to modify them and add LEDs because there's room to do that. Since I mean, it's really just plastic.
yeah, yeah, you can always bore a hole in them.
There's a group on Facebook that's all about the robot spirits. Actually, I just say that because I've discovered them and call them robot spirits, but I think the community calls them robot damashi. That's like I guess their real
Yes.
name. But a lot of there's people on a Facebook group that they customize them and they will put like the real type markings. They'll do some panel lining where it's missing, and then they'll add
That's
lights to
slick.
them. Yeah. But anyway, man, I think I have to get going.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say I'll
this
let
was
you go.
great.
I've taken up
Yeah.
enough of your time. I appreciate you coming on, and you know I really wanted people to hear from you. I've got links to Gundam Explained on YouTube, Odyssey, Instagram, Twitter. All of the links are down in the description below. So please go check out Adam and you know support his content. Gundam content supporting other Gundam content.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, thanks a lot. And then I guess the plan is potentially for you if you have time to be on the show tomorrow. The
Exactly.
Gundam
So
Explained.
yes,
Yeah,
please tune in to
yeah.
Gundam Explained tomorrow night at 8:30. Well, 8:30 Eastern,
Yes, 7:30
7:30
Central. Yeah,
Central.
that's right.
We'll start on time this time.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I'll probably test in advance.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you all.
Talk later.
Take it easy.